Today I will show you some tips and tricks to how you can transform your chord songs into melody songs. In my 4th edition of Live from Scratch, I made this tune where I only used like very simple piano chords and sang. And today I will transform those chords into melodies and simply produce them. This is the song before anything. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods, and I actually really love this version. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. So what we're gonna do is not to make it greater, but just to make another version of this song. Orchids, listening to the sound of the sleeping tawny owls. We're gonna replace the chords with melodies. And then the question, what makes a really good melody? I would say intentions. That you did your best by doing a lot of different versions, and every time you had to pick out a note, tried multiple options and not just took the first and the best. It's about doing it slow and continue working until you're really satisfied. The first thing I did was to make a bass. And remember, a bass is also a melody. So I used the root notes that I found from the chords by simply copying the chords into my bass track, and then I muted everything that wasn't the root note, like this. And then I tried to make it a melody by listening to it and trying things out. For example, so now we have just these basic notes. But we could ba, ba, na. I will just turn on the metronome. Always remember to sing along when you're making melodies. So, ba, ba, down. 1, 2, 3. And to really make sure that what you do makes sense, then you could unmute the piano when you're doing these melodies. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. Also really nice to check if it fits with the vocals. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. And of course you can make longer melodies, so simply just duplicate the loop and then make variations or just do it from scratch. So this was making a bass. And of course you could also make a bass using a real bass. And just to keep in mind, when you have the bass and the vocals, then you already have 2 different melodies. Remember to appreciate everything that you do. And then again, remember to do everything really slowly and do 10 more takes of everything you do to make sure that you did your best. And what it means to do your best is not to do something that people would think that is the best, but try to impress yourself, try to surprise yourself. So of course I would sit down and then maybe make 10 different bass lines, because this is so important for the song, for the music. If I don't care about the bass line, then it's going to be a shitty song. I promise you that. I will go back to the one that I made previously, not because I think it's better, but just because this is what I built the music around. It was a sunny day. It's a lot less busy, and that's kind of makes rooms for the vocal. I was crushed. So maybe I should use another bass line when there are no singing, sorry. Surrounded by dead, quiet purple orchids, listening to the sound of the sleeping tawny owls. So the next thing is to add more melodies. And for me, I get inspired to do melodies depending on what kind of sounds that I have available. So what I did was I made 10 different sounds, and then I just tried to make melodies with each of the 10 different sounds. And when I made the sounds, I really tried to do them as different as possible, to really like have something that I would never imagine, and just to have something that would inspire me to maybe surprise myself, inspire me to do something that I didn't know that I could do. So when you're making these different synthesizer sounds, then remember that you can have sounds which are very long, very short and percussive, and you can have sounds that fades in, or sounds that really just bang. You can have sounds that evolves, and you can have sounds that are really like dirty and aggressive, and you can have soft sounds. There are so many different sounds that you can make, so try to really do 10 as different sounds as possible. Okay, but I added this pad kind of sounding melody. And I really just liked it because it was kind of supporting this feel of the music. Let's try to listen. Surrounded by dead, quiet purple. And I made this melody by just simply playing around with my keyboard until I found something that I liked. But I will give you some ideas to how you can make melodies. I think of melodies in like two ways. I think of melody that is inspired by the vocal, by the melody, or melodies that is inspired by the chords. But of course we need to like make them fit together with both elements. My first approach is simply just to select some notes that I like. So I just do it note by note. It was a sunny day. And then I change the note when I feel like it should change. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. For example, like this, but again, it's all about taking your time to do some different and then choosing what you like. One kind of melody that we can make is simply adding a third from the chord and then maybe adjust it from there. I will copy the chords down and then I will mute everything that's not the third. In this example, I use a 1-5-3 inversion, so the third is always on the top. So let's listen to how it sounds with a melody that consists of the third of the chords. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. I don't think this is very musical. Surrounded by dead, quiet purple orchid. It kind of like works in a way because it doesn't do anything wrong. But for me, that it doesn't do anything wrong really isn't good enough. But this is a good starting point. So for example, we could like It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. Like for example this. So I either use the thirds as a starting point or as a ending note. So for example here I start on the third, and the next note I start on the third, and the next note I start on the fifth, and then I fall down to the third. And here I also again use it as a end destination. I was listening and paying attention while I did this, and this is what creates attention, because it's all about doing something that we think sounds good, and we can only do that by really focusing on what we are doing. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. Okay, next method. You can use guide tone lines, which is using the third and the seventh. But in these chords, we don't have a seventh on our chords, so we will simply go and add it. So let's start with doing that. So the seventh is either 11 or 10 half steps up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then an octave up. And then I listen which of the two I like the most. So either 11 or 10. So in this case, it's the minus seventh, which is 10 half steps up. You can also just go 2 half steps down. That's the same as going 10 half steps up. So this is again the small. Let's try with the major seventh. I like the major seventh best here. So I start with the major seventh. And there are really no rules, it's all about listening. But it can be a good idea to have the vocals playing while you're doing this, so you don't accidentally make some notes that doesn't fit with your vocal melody. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed. I like the major better. So 10 half steps up and an octave. Spread out on all 9 hectares. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. Yeah. So I added the seventh to all the chords, and what I do now is that I mute the 2 bottom notes, which is the root and the fifth, because I'm only interested in the third and the seventh, which is the 2 here on top, because now I'm using the 1, 5, 3, 7 inversion, which means that 1, 5, 3, 7. So now I will try to make 2 melodies using these different notes, and I do that by octaving and only octaving. So for example, I can move this an octave up and have like this melody ba, 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 instead of as it was like this ba, 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 ba. Or it could even be like this ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. How does the other melody sound? Ba, 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 ba. We could also move these 2 up, so it will be like ba, 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 ba. But it's totally up to you. Let's double the loop and make it do something else the next time. I will take it down here. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, da, ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, I like this. The next step is now to make 2 different instrument play this part. So I will add it here by copy pasting. And in the first, I will mute the top melody. And in the next, I will mute the bottom melody. So now it's two different instruments playing these two different melodies. And to make it sound bigger and more exciting, in my world at least, I also panned these two different instruments out in each of the speakers. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares, surrounded by dead, quiet purple orchids, listening to the sound of the sleeping towny owls. Again, this is a starting point, and just like to get started, maybe this sounds like a million, or maybe it doesn't, and you need to adjust it until you think it sounds like a million. But it's an idea to how you can make melodies. I do it in my final result, and I just thought that it sounded like a million. So let's listen. I overcomplicate, it's all in my head. I'm the only one to forget, always one step ahead. Search and destroy, I employ to an eye. I'm just a poor boy who never thought he could enjoy. And here I do the same with the root and the fifth. I will show you. It's all in my head. I'm the only one to forget, always one step ahead. Search and destroy, I employ to an eye. I think this sounds like a million. I was really like, wow, when I listened to it the first time. Okay, so let me show you how I did. I simply used the root and the fifth, and then I just did just like I did with the third and the seventh. I simply just octaved them and then used one of the notes. I can just do it one more time to show you how. Basically, I have the root and the fifth, which I'm unmuting now. I thought it was fun to like stay on the same note instead of going up. So now it sounds like overcomplicate, it's all in. And now I can go ba ba, or I can go down. And let's try to move this down again. So ba, overcomplicate, it's all in my head. I'm the only one to forget. Ba 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 ba. I like it better with this. Let's see where this takes us. And then one thing I tried to do, which I thought was really interesting, was that I tried to counter the melodies that the third and the seventh were playing. So in the first part, you can see that I also go down with the two other melodies go down. You can see here, down, down, down. And here it also goes down. But then when it starts to go up here, then I go down again. And then when it's on the top here and starts to descend, then in the bass it starts to go up. So it's kind of this like feeling, and I just think that it sounded extremely beautiful. I was really proud of myself when I did this. Overcomplicate, it's all in my head. I'm the only one to forget, always one step ahead. Search and destroy, I employ to an eye. I'm just a poor boy who never thought he could enjoy. Another approach you could try out is to follow the vocal melody. I started with finding the key notes in what I'm singing. I'm not trying to nail all the articulations or all the small notes, but mainly the main notes in the melody. Let's listen. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. So I made a mistake here because I switched note earlier than what I were drawing. But if I didn't fix it, it wouldn't be a problem. What I then do is to add harmonies. So I will duplicate this melody track. So I will try out some different intervals and simply just listen and figure out what I like. So we can try it with starting adding a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. I really like this. Let's try it 1 octave down. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. Yeah. Let's do one more. Let's try to move it 4 half steps up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe an octave down. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. Again, sounds really amazing, I think. Let's do a last one. And let's go 7 half steps down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. I didn't like this note. So what I can do is to either take it 1 half step up or down. So I will try to take it 1 half step down. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. Again, I really like the sound of this. What you could do is to duplicate the loop and simply from the next part on choosing another interval. So you get some kind of development, but only if you like it and you think it sounds good. Remember that you can make space in between your melodies. Your melodies doesn't have to play all the time. So I made like this example, which only plays sometimes. And it's this synthesizer, which has like this short percussive sound. Surrounded by dead quiet, it just makes space for everything else. Listening to the sound of the sleeping tawny owls. And again, also because my other melody, which is this melody, is like very subtle, very slow, not much happening, then there's actually room for more melodies. If we have 4 melodies on top of each other, which are all really busy, then it can be kind of very messy. I really like those small melodies that only comes very rarely, and I actually think that this is too long. I really like it just to be like this. Surrounded by dead, that short melody phrase I think is brilliant. It just like pops up in my mind, and when I listen to it I get a bit surprised, and it's like a good surprise. When I have made a new song and I want to write melodies for the song, then a really nice approach that I like is simply just to jam on top of the song. So let's try to do it. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares, surrounded by dead, quiet purple orchids, listening to. So just play something, and then if there's something great comes to your fingers, then keep that and just like destroy everything else. For example, I think the beginning was quite fine. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was just like keep a few bits of what you are playing. And this method also leads me into the next subject. I did this tiny kind of solo thing because I wasn't singing in this part. And it just reminded me that it's so nice to do some soloing kind of things. And what I do is that I simply just repeat one part and then practice playing solo. To be honest, I think everybody should practice playing solo because it's just such a crucial part of making music. I just start like trying to find notes that I like. I just think that it's the best way to like get in touch with what you're doing. And it's like when I sit down and need to make a melody for some chords that I find difficult to make melodies for, then I just sit and improvise until my improvising starts to like make just a tiny bit of sense. It's just playing around and trying out different things. And it's like with your fingers you have a system, and it's like if you make a mistake, then you can just play the note right before or right after, and then you know it sounds good. And you have like this visual help tool, and it just makes it so much easier to get in touch with new things, new notes, new chords. And when you're trying to do this only singing, it can just be like because when you're out in deep water, then your vocal doesn't have the same visual tools and physical tools. And yeah, playing solo and improvising and just trying out by just playing around, I think it's so crucial. So I would really recommend you to start soloing every time you need to make new melodies, because it's just a way to awaken your ears and to get familiar with the material you're working with. In my version, I also used the piano, but what I did to make it take less space is that I simply cut off all of the bass. And then I also added this sketch cassette. So it's like, instead of I use the piano as this big beautiful instrument, I only use it as more like a percussive thing and a harmonic thing, but that doesn't take up much space in the harmonic landscape we're working in. I really like to use different synthesizer sounds for different parts, but you can also just use different octaves for the different parts. For example, like this, here we have like the synthesizer which is playing throughout the beginning. And then in the next part I octaved it an octave down. No one will ever know. And then it just got this completely different sound, and it really just like made the feel different, which was really important for me. With a secret too fragile to pass up. Let's try to move it an octave up and listen to how that sounds. because I really just liked this synthesizer sound and what it is playing. But it just becomes the same throughout the whole song, and I really like the contrast. So I will press Ctrl Z and reverse it back to before. Remember that you can use different instrumentations for each of the different parts. You can even mute the bass. When you are playing with synthesizers, then keep in mind the frequencies. For example, this synthesizer I really thought sounded amazing. But I also found out that it's playing way too much bass, and it just made it messy. So you can see here when I unmuted it, it's playing awfully deep notes. So instead of fixing it later, you can just fix it now, and if you do this all the way through, then mixing your numbers, your tunes will become so much easier. So just keep in mind that if your synthesizers, which isn't bass synthesizers, are playing low-end bass, then mute it. Simply add the equalizer and use your eyes. If your mid-tone synthesizer are playing below 100 Hz, especially like it does here, then add a low-cut filter, because it's just making everything sound more messy. And as you can hear here, I don't need everything below 1K. It just makes it fit better together in the mix. When you're working in Ableton, automate as much as possible. Of course, it needs to sound good what you're automating, but there are so many things to automate. So if you're not automating, then you're really not doing your best, because automating is a way for you to perform your music, to like bring yourself into the music and just make it more exciting to both do and also to listen to. So always automate everything. I will tell you where I automate it, and you will maybe understand what automation can do. I will play you my new version of this song. This song isn't done yet, but it was really exciting to take it to a new world, a new sound, a new expression. And I'm not done with this yet, but it was really exciting for me, because before I started doing this, I really actually loved the sound of just piano and vocal. But now I also love this, even though I didn't thought it was possible to do anything else with it that would be really nice. So let's listen, and I will maybe try to explain a bit about what I do. It was a sunny day out in the lower woods. I was crushed and spread out on all 9 hectares. And now we have like this staccato. Surrounded by dead, quiet purple orchids. Listening to the sound of the sleepy. And now we get space because I stopped singing, so there's like the solo thing. And now I take the instrument an octave down. Buried next to the old oak trees, underneath the boulder clay, there is a cave with a secret to fragile. And I also muted the hi-hats, again to create different instrument combinations. To let go the story about how I feel about you. It was only drums, bass and vocal. It was an uphill. So in this part I could maybe do something else with the bass, because there are plenty of room to play around with the bass. It was the chance of a lifetime. Always safe but sorry, never happy and satisfied. And now I mute the bass and use the third and the seventh method. It's all in my head. I'm the only one to forget, always one step ahead. Search and destroy, I employed to an eye. I'm just a poor boy who never thought he could enjoy. And I add the root and the fifth melody thing, just to give it one more layer, but this one more layer also just added to the third and the seventh melodies, just made it more magical, I think. I implied to an eye, I'm just a poor boy who never thought he could enjoy. And listen to the drums. We have like this equalizer, which is automated with a high cut filter. And I also added the piano. With a secret too fragile to pass on, too important to let go. The story about how I feel about you. And then all the synths comes in again. No one will ever know. And also the hi-hat started playing again. And also a lot of background vocals. There is a cave with a secret too fragile to pass on, too important to let go. The story about how I feel about you. Drums and vocals choir. So I just try to use as many different combinations, and it's not to make it better, but it's because there are so many different combinations that I can't imagine before I do them, and then when I do them I simply just love them. So the reason to try out a lot of different combinations is not because more different combinations is better, but to like expand your ideas of what is possible. I don't feel like I did many melodies for this, but my idea was to transform the chords and the composition into something that was different from the piano, because often when I use the piano chords are so big and wonderful, and I'm like, adding more to that quickly becomes very messy, because why add more to the piano? So for me, this was to show you an approach to like try out to reproduce your songs that you made only using soft piano and singing. You don't need much, so therefore take your time and make something that you really like. Everything else is just a waste of time, both for you and your listeners. And yes, you can make masterpieces, even though you started making music yesterday, because it's all about continuing until you have made something that you really, really, really feel is like, wow, I did this, I love this. And we can all get that feeling with everything we do, as long as we continue until we feel this feeling. I hope this inspired you to do some more music, because that's the most important thing I can inspire you to do. And if you like this video, then please hit the thumbs up button and consider to subscribe to my channel. It would truly make me happy. Enjoy.